So Melissa, to go back to your question about the wild legs, can we do a back handspring demonstration? You're gonna go slow. Remember when I spotted you before, we would stop on the hands?
Yeah.
You remember that? We're gonna do that, okay? So yesterday I was spotting a girl who had a lot of control. She's a dancer, so her proprioception was pretty good. But every time she jumped into her back handspring, she would pull from her hips. So she would frog leg from the hips. She was still pushing off of her big toes. So usually frog legs for me is one of three things is happening. Either they're jumping off the pinky toes, that's the easy explanation, right? Because pinky toes is gonna promote that abduction and pull away from the center. Ankles, knees, thighs automatically come apart when they jump off the big pinky toes. Or the knees are turned out, right? Maybe her bones are set where knees turned out is more comfortable, or they're pulling from the hips. That's the only three things. When you get the wild legs, go ahead and bend the knees. And you guys get a chance to see how I teach back handsprings too. So I don't teach swing because that's an unnecessary step at first. I don't teach sit. Because what happens when you sit? Where do you put your weight when you sit? Into a chair. In your heels and your bum, right? When you put your weight in your hips, you feel forced back, right? And whenever we sit into a chair, there's always something that we're anticipating is going to catch us. What we want to avoid is that startle response. We want to avoid that moment where she goes, huh, and she has to step back. Then we want to recondition the conscious response to say, okay, now if I bend, keep my weight in my thighs, knees, and toes, you decide when you're going to fall. So push your toes down to make yourself fall. Now she could say, and now I'm going to stand. She knows where her tipping point is. She doesn't feel forced into the fall. And now she can say, now I'm going to stand. And as I stand off my big toes, stand up on your toes. There you go. Then that's going to help me to squeeze my bum together and push my hips to the ceiling, which is going to help lift into that takeoff. But what I would do to work on those wild legs, Abby, you're doing great. I'm like molding you like clay. You're doing great. Now we're not going to jump. We're going to stand up fast. Okay. Stand up off those big toes for me. 3, 2, stand. There you go. And so I would scoop in under the small of the back and behind the legs, making sure that her hips are over her shoulders, chin to chest for me. There you go. And go ahead and walk out. Beautiful job. So I would have them practice that discomfort of falling. And I can show you guys a drill that I use all the time, the fallback drill. Very simple. But number one, take out the sit. Number two, make sure that they are bending and falling instead of sitting and losing their balance prematurely.